Hey, what's up, everybody? It is about 12:20, 12:19. I basically got about 50 minutes left of lunch, so I thought I'd kind of do, as you can see down there, the Animated Girls Profile Confidential episode edition 43, or episode 43, the 43rd edition of Animated Girls Profile Confidential. And as you see by the name of the character we are talking about, it is none other than Babs Bunny. That's right, Babs Bunny of Tiny Toon Adventures. And it's kind of ironic that we're going with back-to-back Tiny Toon characters, but I think when one looks at Babs, it's, I don't know whether or not Jawbreaker did a Furry Girl profiles on her yet. If he did, then check his profile on her. And like I said, check his Furry Girls profile on her if he did one on Babs. I'm pretty sure, I am very sure he did a great job on it. But when you look at Babs, she was part of Tiny Toons from the very beginning. Basically, being part of Tiny Toons from the very beginning, she was a character that a lot of people liked, really got behind. But one of the reasons Babs was created was in story, when the creator of Tiny Toons was coming up with characters. He finally came around to creating Buster, and Buster basically asked, hey, can you give me a companion, a partner, someone to talk to rabbit? And of course, that's where Babs was born. Much to the surprise of Buster, who, was thinking more along the lines of, hey, just have a buddy, kind of like man-to-man kind of, partner, and instead you get Babs, and it's like, and Babs' first words was, words that came out of her, the name was, well, basically, the first words that came out of Babs, I think, when she got created was, welcome to the 90s. Because Buster's reaction was a girl, and Babs was like, welcome to the 90s. And it was right then and there that we also got an example of what Babs could do. Basically, Babs has been, so far, the only character that can basically do multiple impersonations. Basically, she could, do multiple impersonations. She could sometimes shapeshift, and it's hard to believe, but she's able to shapeshift several parts of her body at times to what's the word? To kind of exaggerate or kind of express what she's doing or saying. And she also, like I said, she's able to do that in a sense. She's able to shapeshift different parts of her body, if not her whole body, into, different sizes, different things. And that's shown throughout some of the episodes of Tiny Toons in the 3 to 4 seasons that the show was on. Now, another distinction Babs holds as well, as crazy as this sounds, is true, Buster was the first to do a lustful milk gag when Babs kissed him to close out, showing off what she can do impersonation-wise. She kind of impersonated Jessica Rabbit, and she basically did to kind of close it. To kind of, like I say, close out the impersonations, showing Buster what she can do. She kissed him on the lips, and he melted into a blue puddle. Now, he did that, but then you're wondering, okay, that was for the pilot and everything. Okay, cool, but what about beyond the pilot? Well, beyond it, Babs did it as well, and it's kind of strange how she did it. It was basically, I think, around the 33rd or 35th episode, called Europe in 30 Minutes. And Babs ended up seeing, along with the other characters, and along with Buster, Plucky, and Hampton, she ended up seeing the royal couple. Prince Charles and the late Princess Diana, who they were parodying, if you will, in the episode. And I guess you could say it was an admirable lustful melt that she did. But yeah, Babs kind of runs, basically after the royal couple goes by, Babs kind of runs after them a little bit, says the line, she basically says the line, royalty, and she ends up melting into a pink puddle. But what is unique about her melting is she doesn't go straight down like, let's say, a waterfall or anything. The melting kind of cascades up. Yeah, basically her becoming a puddle. Yeah, she melted into a complete pink puddle, but the way she did it was, like I said, she didn't go down, she didn't flow down or anything, it kind of flowed up. Basically the pink kind of flowed up on top of her, over her, kind of enveloped her, the pinkness, and then dropped her down into a puddle. I kind of have clips of that. There's several clips. I kind of have I kind of have seen clips of it, if you know what I mean. So you could check those out on YouTube. Google them if you want to. But yeah, the way Babs does her first lustful melt in an admirable kind of way, because she's admiring, she's looking up to the characters. The way she does it is basically the puddle kind of flows up on top of her, flows up over her, flows up kind of like melting in reverse. Well, not melting in reverse, but kind of just flows up on her and then drops her down after she turns completely pink. In other words, it kind of like melts her from the bottom up, and then it drops her down into the puddle. And what's unique about this, and I always thought was funny, was after she melted into a puddle, her friends go after the royal couple as well, and they run through Babs as she's a melted puddle. Yeah, as they run after the royal couple, Babs is still there as a melted puddle, as a complete melted puddle, and Buster, Hampton, and Plucky run right through her, and you see little droplets getting splashed around from her puddle before she reforms or pops, or basically before she reforms or pops up and reforms and follows after her friends. Yeah, so basically not only does Babs hold the distinction of being the first female and only female that I know of in Tiny Toons to melt into a puddle, but she's also has the distinction of having her friends, having other characters run through her as a puddle. In other words, it's like if you're a little kid and it's raining, you see a rain puddle and you like to splash in it, you like to stomp in it. That's basically what happened here. Like I said, that's basically what happened here. They ran through her while she was a completed melted puddle and caused parts of her to splash, around the kind of. They basically caused droplets of her. Basically, they ran through her, and basically caused little droplets of her to splash in different parts of the hallway before she, like I said, popped up and reformed into herself, running after her friends. That's running after and catching up with her friends. I'll say this about Babs's character. I mean, when it came to episodes, sometimes short cartoons and all that, there was central focus, that were kind of focused on her as a main character or as a starring role. I will say this: Warner Brothers and the writers, they did a magnificent job. They did a magnificent job anytime they had episodes that focused on Babs. They did an excellent job, the writers, on episodes that would focus on Babs as a main character. Like one of her first episodes was the one where she went to Wacky Land. And then the other one, of course, they did was 13 something, And again, they just did a fantastic job. I mean, even Promise Her Anything, which she was kind of a central focus in, they did a decent job with her there. So overall, I have to say that with Babs, they did a tremendous job. And even when they did How I Spent My Vacation, they did an even great job there, because they gave her some character, they gave her a lot of character development. Like, you know, here's Babs, all she wants to do is, you know, just spend summer, you know, just want to spend a peaceful summer vacation, you know, just relaxing and doing nothing. And yet, because Buster wants to spend the summer playing pranks on her by squirting her with water guns, they end up on a, they end up going on a water cruise, not water cruise, but a wet, wild adventure across the country because of that. So yeah, you have throughout this trip that they go on that, you know, Babs is just like, all she wants to really do is get back. All she really wants to do is be at home, you know, performing. She wants to get back and be with her family, or just get back and enjoy the rest of her vacation. And like I said, she spends the summer basically with Buster on this, you know, water rapid adventure across the country. You know, they also gave a little bit of character development when it came to the Christmas special, because we kind of knew, and if not, you know, had it established already that Buster and her were boyfriend and girlfriend. We pretty much knew that. But I like how in and it was kind of emphasized a little bit, and more emphasized in 13-something than I think anything. But when they did the Christmas special, which was a parody of It's a Wonderful Life, I like how basically they focused on, I like how they kind of gave Babs that character development and showed a little bit of jealousy, if you will. Like, you know, she's okay with like co-stars like Cher and Luke Perry and all that, but she, you know, when it comes to, you know, let's say someone like Cher kind of being nice to Buster, kind of being flirtatious a little bit, Babs can get a little jealous, and that kind of shows in the special and everything. But also, you kind of see exactly why he was always talking with Cher, why he was always conversing with Cher, and why it seemed Babs took it the wrong way. Because what Babs didn't know, and again, it was good character development for her, because she realized she can't judge a book by its cover, finds out that Cher suggested just give her a big old kiss on the lips, as a present, kind of just really confirmed that attraction between you two, that love you two have as boyfriend and girlfriend. And what's funny about this is Babs ends up melting into a puddle again, but this time she doesn't melt into a complete pink puddle. She melts right through her freaking clothes and, you know, ear ribbons. Yeah, she melts completely down to the point that her clothes lie on top of the pink puddle with a little bit of a white trimming on the sides, as well as her eyes pop down onto the puddle as well. So all that remains of her, like I said, is her clothes on top of the puddle and her eyes. So, yeah, she basically did it twice in the cartoon. Basically in the earlier episodes and towards the end. One thing about Babs' character as well in the series is, you know, like with Buster, you know, he was always hanging out with Plucky and Hampton, so that was kind of like a acknowledgement to, a nod, if you will, to how everybody looked at Bugs, Daffy, and Hampton. I mean, not Hampton, but Bugs, Daffy, and Porky as three characters that would always hang out with each other. Anytime, you know, you saw maybe kind of a show or a movie involving them, they'd always be the main three always focused on or showcased. And Tiny Toons paid homage to that with Buster having Plucky and Hampton around him, but to kind of show that this was a new show, to kind of show that this was a newer show and this was with the times. You had you had the writers, you had Steven Spielberg, you had the creative staff say, okay, Buster's going to hang out with Plucky and Hampton, let's have Babs hang out with the female equivalent of certain other characters. So you had Shirley the Loon, who was, I guess, a Tiny Toon equivalent to Melissa Duck of Looney Tunes fame. And then you had Fifi, who was the female equivalent of Peppy. So, a Pepe Le Pew. So basically the best choice was, so the obvious answer was, okay, we don't have a female pig to represent to be a Tiny Toon equivalent of Petunia. Let's just have Fifi and Shirley be, the best buds of Babs, and kind of have a status quo there, to where the characters always hang out with each other, and the characters are always dating each other. Kind of hang out with each other, and kind of like in the same veins as, let's say, Saved by the Bell. You have Buster with you have Babs with Buster, you have Shirley with Plucky, you have Fifi with Hampton. So it kind of worked out. And again, basically, by giving Babs her own BFFs to hang out with, it was basically a great, to me, it was a good move, a great move on Warner Brothers' part, on the creators' part, on the creative staff's part, to do that. And I think everybody would agree that the shining moment for all three of them, as I mentioned with the Fifi review, was the Amazing 3 short. So I really liked that. And overall, I have to say that when it comes to any characters created for shows, even if they're female equivalents or female counterparts to the males of the show, Babs probably ranks up there as one of the best they've ever created, because of the fact that there's been no other character that could really match that. I mean, you look at the Looney Tunes show of recent years and you say, well, Lola, that incarnation of Lola could have matched it. Yeah, she could have, but they never went in that direction. They never went in the direction of having, Lola do impersonations. They never had, times where Lola, let's say she got a kiss on the lips from Bugs, where she would melt into a puddle. You never had those indications. You never had her do an admirable melt into a puddle by looking at someone she would idol or look up to and seeing them in person. You never had that happen. So, to me, I look at the fact that, to have Babs do all that and more, I don't think there's going to be any other characters that you could really say, can any other female characters by Warner Brothers, from a Looney Tunes kind of standpoint, or even a Tiny Toons standpoint, or spin-off of Looney Tunes standpoint, I don't think you can find any other character that does all that better than Babs. And it's like I said with Fifi in Fifi's profile video that I did. If they ever decide to reboot or remake Tiny Toon Adventures, they need to do a lot more with Babs. They need to. One of the things that I noted when I talked about Minerva, I believe, but when I talked about Minerva Mink, was when she melted into a puddle in Moon over Minerva, you had to have Wilford and his werewolf and his werewolf alter ego pick her up and wring her out like a towel just to restore her. And I'm always thinking, that would definitely fit someone like Babs. If they ever decide to remake and reboot Tiny Toon Adventures, that would be a great avenue to go down. So, overall, though, I don't think I can say any more about Babs. She has starred in some video games as the main playable character, and has been a featured character in some of the comics I think they have done. So, again, I really don't think I can say any more about her, and that's all I'm going to really say about Babs Bunny on this 43rd edition of the Animated Girls Profile Confidential. Let me know what you guys think. Comment down below. I'm going to head to McDonald's now and get me some lunch before I have to clock back in. God bless. Take care.